video, I'm going to be talking about understanding root causes of pain so that you are better able to heal your pain. My name is Victoria Bedford and I'm a wounded healer. And what a wounded healer is, somebody who has healed and started to transmute their own wounds through greater understanding and connection to their own body. Wounded healers use their experiences and knowledge gained along their own extensive healing journey from their shadows and inner child work and their own traumas, so we can hold space, bring light and awareness to empowering and helping you along your journey. So today's video talking about root causes. It's really important because everything is energy. Every emotional suppression is, emotion is energy in motion. And when you haven't been able to connect to your emotions, validate your emotions, experience your emotions in a healthy sense, you will have suppressed your emotions. An energy that is suppressed comes out as behaviors, quite often unhealthy behaviors. But when you try and change unhealthy behaviors just by changing to an opposite behavior, you're not going to heal that behavior. Because anything that is energy that isn't healed, it just transmutes into another problem. Somebody who is a people pleaser, who tries to not be a people pleaser and say no, can be somebody who becomes too guarded, never says yes to anything, and puts a wall up so high it's bigger than China. Somebody who tries to avoid conflict because they were such a conflict-driven person can end up transmuting that energy so much that they become somebody who accepts everything, becomes a walkover, and doesn't know how to articulate how they feel because they're so scared to go back to who they think they were, which is the angry person. And the truth of the matter is, healing energy, healing that means that you can know how to have your voice, you can know when to say what you need, but you also know how to do it in a healthy way. Anything that you don't heal to learn to do that in a healthy way, and you just try and change that behavior to go opposite, you're just creating an energy dissipation. You're creating that energy that just changes form. So you've healed one part, but you've created another problem. And this is what people are stuck in today. They're trying to stop behaviors that they don't like by creating other behaviors that they think are going to stop those behaviors, but they are equally not healthy. Because just like yin and yang, we need both energies. We need light and dark. We need to have anger. We need to have conflict, but we just need to know how to healthily manage that and implement that in our life. We need to people please at times, but we also need to know when to have boundaries. I hope this video brings you something. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. You'll get an update on when my videos are being released. I'll release at least one a week at the moment due to my busy schedule. If you're wanting to work with me, there'll be links in the comments for one-to-ones or for group work. But I'm hoping that you're going to take something from this video. Thank you. The pain pandemic. This is what I call it, a pandemic of pain. This week's video is going to be speaking about understanding root causes instead of focusing on the problem. Because Western society focuses on problems and not causes. And when you do that, you just continue to create more problems. And this is coming from experience. As a wounded healer, I am somebody who has been on a journey for 10 to 15 years of understanding myself, understanding my traumas, which I didn't even label traumas, and some that were blatantly traumas, understanding my behaviour through this, understanding how real change was going to occur, because I tried to change so much and those changes could never happen and weren't able to be ingrained. We live in a world where we're so disconnected. We seek escapisms, not just drink and drugs, and we're in a world where we just think drink and drugs are the bad problemed behaviour. That must be an escapism. TV, internet, the phone. Being busy all the time, running around, seeing your friends, going out all the time, feeling like you're living your best life. That is also another way of running from your pain. People believe that to have the best life, they literally need to cram everything into their life. Going places, holidays, doing things, achieving things. And then they still feel like they're missing something. And then you have other people who can't do nothing, who feel like they have no purpose. They have no strength. They feel like they have no energy. And these people sit scrolling TikTok. This was once me. Sit on the TV. Sit on the phone. Just sit trying to keeping your mind busy. Or people that have behaviours such as people pleasing, such as pushing people away. Everyone is taught just to focus on the problem. Oh, well, I'm just a really irate person, so my problem is I need to learn to not be irate. Oh, well, I'm just a people pleaser. My problem is I need to learn to not be a people pleaser. Oh, well, I'm addicted to the gym and I feel shame and guilt when I don't go to the gym, but that's okay because I know that mental health, my body has to come first. What a disillusioned world we are living in. A world that is being crammed with living our best life, creating as many memories. You've got to live like this. When the truth is, that is just more disillusion upon disillusion upon disillusion. No wonder the world is in pain. We compare ourselves. We judge ourselves. We compare ourselves to people who have got the best life on social media while we're sat there scrolling other people's best life because we don't know how to make our own. Or we're making our best life, but we're so tired and busy because it feels like there's just one more tick box after another tick box of chores and people you've got to see. The pain pandemic is seeing people focus so much on their external life, completely missing or having no access to awareness on the internal life. People say, well, past is in the past. That happened years ago. You've just got to let it go. But that is so far from the truth. It is absurd. And it's not until you hear this, when people like myself say it, do you really go, oh my God, I've been walking through the matrix, believing everyone else in how we should be doing life. Even gurus and spiritual teachers are like, changing your belief systems is done like this. And yes, changing your belief systems is important. Recognizing how you think is important. The biggest key is being taught how to feel. Because every problem you have has a root cause. And I'm going to label problems that we're here trying to fix in society. Addiction, prescription pills, cocaine, LSD, ketamine, all of those. Cigarettes, alcohol. Some of the problems are people scroll TikTok and Facebook too much. Some of the other problems are people binge watch TV. Some of the other problems are people pleasers, always saying yes to people wish they didn't. Some of the problems are people get emotionally dysregulated and can't manage their emotions and are upset all the time or shutting themselves away. Problems are people don't like conflict, so they try and avoid them. Problems are people buying things needlessly, thinking that they need the house to look better. They need a bigger house, better car, more clothes. Their children need more stuff. Memories. The problem is always thinking you've got to make a memory. You've got to be out living your best life, making memories. Now, other problems that we accumulate. We need to see our friends more. We need to be more. We need to have more activities. We need to be having more hobbies. And there are so many more problems than this. The problem of I don't know how to shut my brain off. The problem of, I have so many negative thoughts. And people go, these are problems, problems, I need to fix these problems, problem. And all they're focused on is the problem. Because that's what you've been taught to focus on. If you break your arm, you're taught to go and get a cast. So the problem is, I broke my arm. Fix my arm, please, doctor. Okay, let's wrap it in a cast. But if you don't understand, so if you break your arm once or twice, okay. But if you start breaking your arm every couple of years, you're going to need to question what the cause of it is. Well, I'm not really taking too care of my body. I'm jumping from trees, I'm getting drunk all of the time and wearing heels and falling about the floor. So you might want to just focus on the cause. Well, you might just want to focus on the problem, which is my arm is broken, doctor, fix it. If you don't understand the cause, if you don't understand your behaviours that are leading you to do that, if you don't understand why, then how on earth are you going to stop hurting yourself? And I'm going to give you an example of this. And this is something that we do. Growing up in my childhood, I never got attention unless it was being shouted at. My dad was very authoritarian, was an alcoholic, struggled with CPTSD and PTSD himself. My mum was a codependent, had deep ancestral wounding, and they didn't know how to show up in their own life, never mind a child's life. And there's other videos on that. But today we're going to be talking about growing up in that environment. But the one time I only did ever get love was when I was poorly. I remember being poorly, because any child that's poorly, a parent has to tap into their nurture side majority of the time. Not all wounded parents do, but mine did. So I developed this unconscious notion that they will always show up if there's a problem, if I'm poorly, or if there's something I need deep help with. Because they did. Every time I was being bullied at school, they would be there for me. They couldn't show up in the other part of my life. There was other abuses going on. But this was 2 times that they could show me the connection of the parent to a child, which is what a child craves, connection, love and bonding. And a child will get that in any way they can, whether it's healthy or not. So as an adult, I started to drink a lot. Or I started to go out and be a bit more reckless, and I started to hurt myself without meaning to. This started in adolescence, where I was self-harming. Parents were constantly like, what's going on? Can we help you? How can we help you? Then in adulthood, I would be getting drunk, falling over, spraining my ankle, or I would be having deep gut issues where I'm constantly in hospital. I've got one illness after another, because my body was so stressed. But also a part of me had attributed my illness and me not being very well was getting love from my parents. But there was only so much love they could ever give. And as I got an adult, they was tired of the fact that this kept happening, and in the end didn't bother with me. And that would see me even more lean into my lack of worth, not good enough. They don't even care when I'm not very well. And didn't show up for any problems that I had, because they'd showed up so much in childhood that they felt overburdened in adulthood. But my brain was trying to seek connection this way. But for me, if I had only looked at the cause, if I didn't look at the cause and only looked at the problem, I'm always ill, there's something wrong with me, I'm always hurting myself, the world is against me, I must have a curse. The world is against me. Nothing's ever going to get better. I am my own worst enemy. And I spent like that for years. Until I started to explore the cause. Why are you always ill? Because as I was starting to heal and recognise that you trace back causes to causes, you can understand behaviours. And then I started to link, wow, in childhood, you only got attention, not the most attention, you only got attention when there was either a major crisis or you was poorly. So of course, I'm going to seek to do this in adulthood, because I haven't been taught how to ask for connection or bond with these two people or anyone without there having to be a need or a problem. And I give that as an example because every behaviour you have, you believe you can eradicate by doing the opposite. So if you're angry, you just need to learn to be calmer. If you're a people pleaser, you just need to learn to not people please. If you are too passive, you need to learn to be assertive. If you keep picking men that are abusive, you just need to learn not to pick men that are abusive. You can't change that behaviour though. How many people have tried to change the behaviour? Right, next time I'm just going to pick a nicer guy. Oh shit, I've missed all the signs again and I'm with the same type of person. Or, oh God, I tried to be so calm for so long. I lost my rag again and I don't know why I lost my rag again. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to heal a behaviour by just doing the opposite. But you can't heal a behaviour that way. Because every behaviour has a root cause of pain. If you are somebody that people pleases, the root cause of your pain is potentially growing up, you were celebrated for putting other people's needs before your own. Or, this doesn't have to always be your parents, or with your parents, they had so much going on that you had to bypass what you felt because it wasn't safe to disclose it. So your parents' need had to come first. Or you had a sibling that was poorly or had an illness. Or you was taught at school and celebrated through achievement. So you have learned and have ingrained a sense of worthiness through doing that. So for you to be able to change that, you have to sit with, my worthiness is not based on how much I make other people feel comfortable, how happy I make other people, how much I support other people. And you have to first start bringing up to the awareness that I have based my worth on the needs of others. You may need to do this with somebody like myself who's a wounded healer or a therapist. Trauma-informed therapists, because those are the type of therapists that truly understand wounded behaviour and where they come from, and maladaptive behaviour. But generally working with someone like myself who has experienced having to change and understand behaviour and emotions. Other behaviour is people who become emotionally dysregulated. Well, I just need to learn to manage my emotions. Oh yes, you do. But you can't just do that at a shallow level of, I'm going to suppress my emotions, or I'm just going to say how I feel. Because every time you try and say how you feel, your internal system's going to say, this doesn't feel right. You shouldn't do that. They're not going to like you. Because your ingrained core doesn't resonate with the energy of managing your emotions. You haven't seen anyone display a management of emotions to you. So how can you change a behaviour you don't understand why you have? You haven't had anyone show you how to manage your emotions. And how you get shown how to manage your emotions is in childhood. You have to have people around you who show you healthy awareness to emotions. Not show you repressed emotions and always be good, always be smiley. Show you a management of, I've got angry, but how have I dealt with it? Or I'm really sad, how am I dealing with it? Now, showing you a healthy range of emotions, of all emotions, is important. But parents believe that they've got to hide anger from children, or parents struggle with hiding anger and show too much anger, not realising how to embody that. Parents are so caught up in their own stuff. This is ancestral stuff that is passed down. And I don't want to sit here and blame parents as if they are the problem, because it's not people. People are not problems. It is what they've learned that is a cause of pain, the pain pandemic. In childhood, we need to feel heard. We need to feel validated. We need to feel loved even when we make mistakes. We need to feel supported. There needs to be a healthy sense of roles that change. Mum one day is the hero, but another day mum may be sad and dad may be the hero. A child may be an achiever, and then the other day a child may be struggling and another sibling becomes a sibling that supports. Roles interchange. In healthy families, roles are allowed to interchange. But in toxic families, or families with an underlying toxic dynamic, there's roles. Dad is rigid, or dad is, angry, or dad is a dictator, or dad is shut down. Mum is the homemaker, the supporter, or mum is the emotional, all about person. The children are the ones that have got to make sure the parents' needs are met. They've got to do well, or they've got to be quiet. And when you've created ingrained roles like that, you will hold your own role in life so accountable. I've got to be a certain way. I've got to be this person. And this causes pain. When you attribute yourself to who you're meant to be based on who you've had to be in childhood, have you had to be an achiever in childhood? Have you been the lost child that a parent was so caught up in, unfortunately, the things that they were going through, that you just had to really find your own way in life? This isn't about blaming parents. And we do blame parents because we wish that it was different. I've spent years blaming my parents. But now, as time has gone on and I have healed, and I have become really aware of how ingrained behaviour is passed down, I now know that we are all living the only way we know how. And that's made me feel more at peace and love and compassion for myself for all the mistakes that I've made with my children. Because without love and compassion, we don't heal. Because we have to realise that while we need to hold ourselves accountable, we don't know what we know until we know it. Everything has a core wound. People say when the past is in the past. But that's like building a house on sand, expecting it to live for centuries, not recognising the foundation wasn't strong enough. We have to explore our childhood, period. For anyone to grow as a person, you have to first explore your causes. Who you are as an adult is a direct correlation to your environment, to your DNA within your family, and to your experiences from childhood. Direct. No ifs or buts. And when people say, well, you're an adult now, you should be doing things differently just because I did that, that's a disillusionment that we are carrying, that as soon as we get an adult, we just know how to adult. Nobody knows how to adult. Because lots of adults are just children in adult bodies. How many adults do we meet that act so childish when they get angry? That act because they're coming from a child state. In some holistic therapies like Gestalt and that, we talk about parts and we talk about adult state and child state. And when we haven't recognised what we did or didn't receive in child state, such as what you may have received is anger, conflict, hitting, abuse, but you didn't receive, so you're focusing on all what you did receive that really affected me, but what you didn't receive is love, support, validation. So if you didn't receive that, connection or learning healthy communication, if you didn't receive that, then how are you going to know? So you're focusing on what has affected you and what you do know you got, but you're not also looking at what you didn't get, because that's affecting you too. It's not as much, our traumas our experiences play a large part in how we are as adults, but the people that are best able to be resilient in adulthood and manage experiences are people that have been taught to manage experiences in childhood. But children who were forced to have experiences that they didn't know how to cope with will create maladaptive coping mechanisms they take into adulthood. And when we break it down like that, of course. And the pain pandemic is people who don't want to look or explore their experiences. And you don't have to completely remember your experiences to explore the emotion that's attached to them, or recognize what you didn't get so you can start giving it to yourself. If you didn't get validation in childhood of anyone to validate your feelings and emotions, you have to, in adulthood, learn to give that to yourself. Otherwise, you'll be seeking validation from friends, family, co-workers, the internet, and you'll never get the validation you seek, so therefore you'll always feel less than. If you've never been taught healthy bonding in childhood, or bonding that wasn't inconsistent, in adulthood, you won't know how to bond with people, or you will have inconsistent bonding because that's all you've known. If you've never been taught how to communicate, how are you going to know how to communicate? These are all causes of addiction, causes of mental health. Now, genetics play a part, but we are so aware that genetics is potentially 30 to 40%. 60 to 70% is environmental, ancestral, and social. If you have come to this video, you may have started to explore, and I commend you for that. But understanding our causes of our pain has to first start with when we stop living in illusion. The pandemic of pain is seeing people just caught in the problem and judging yourself because of the problem. And I'll give you another example. A client that I'm working with, well, actually, this isn't just one client, this is across the board when I work with clients. And the client says, I don't have external anger no more because I used to be so angry. But what I do have is anger for myself. Anger for myself because why did I stay in a violent relationship? Why did I put my children through that? Why did I not do different? And my answer is, you haven't healed anger. You've just recognised that you can no longer, or you no longer want to blame those around you because you've learned that you've got to take accountability to some degree and you've got to heal yourself, and having anger for others isn't going to change anything. But you holding anger for yourself back then, you're holding anger for a person judged on who you are now. So you're looking at yourself 10 years ago, judging yourself from that position based on who you are now, but you've got 10 years worth of knowledge on your belt. You've had to start healing, becoming aware of your childhood, becoming aware of why your choices were they were. So when we hold anger because we should have known better. But how could you have known better back then when you didn't know better? When all you knew was what you was taught. Majority of people who pick domestic violent, abusive relationships have either grown up around domestic violence or have grown up around complete avoidance of conflict. They've grown up around some form of chaotic energy. That is what they have attracted. Energy attracts energy. So of course you are going to be at some point somebody who picked that, because that's all you know. And if you've grown up in inconsistent energy at home, inconsistent behaviour, maybe shouting or suppression, or you don't quite feel connected, or of course you're going to meet this in adulthood. But holding yourself accountable for who you were, it's almost your way of trying to feel like you have to be angry. You have to blame something because that makes you feel like something could have been different. But it couldn't have been different. And I'm not here to say you're all meant to experience the deep dark depths of shit, but in a way we are. Because our experiences are a direct, in adulthood, correlation to our experiences in childhood. And it's not until we experience them in adulthood do we say, wow, this doesn't feel right. I need to change this. But you have to experience it to first know it. Because as a child, you have no choice. As a child, you're forced to experience things that your body knows feels wrong, but you don't have a choice because your voice is not allowed. Majority of parents back in the day would not, if they would see it speaking back, don't you dare speak to me like that. Don't you tell me that. We've got enough going on. Don't you know how we feel? Because they didn't know how to deal with it any differently. so you didn't have a voice. But an adult part of you that is healing now is trying to judge versions of you that you weren't even at. That's like me hating, so I'm doing a drawing and my first drawings are shit. And then I start to really learn the art of drawing and I become Picasso and I look at Picasso and I think, oh, but I really hate my first drawings. They were shit. Why did I draw like that? Well, you had to start somewhere. You couldn't start at Picasso. It doesn't work that way because everything takes growth. Everything takes ascension. The people I work with, I'm empowering them to heal their anger, you know, because they say, I don't have anger, I don't feel anger no more. You know, apart from the bit of anger I feel for myself. That's your way of still feeling anger for external situations that you don't know how to heal, so you're internalizing it. But holding yourself accountable for a version of you that you wasn't yet at, it's unfair to yourself. The only way that we can heal is starting to do heart chakra work, starting to connect with love and compassion for ourselves. And one of the biggest ways, it makes me want to bring tears to my eyes now because I remember the versions of myself that I hated so much, but I couldn't be the version of myself I am now if I didn't experience that version. And you all have to recognise that until you know different, you don't know different. And only by taking accountability for that can you start to make a difference. You know, so when we try to make choices just by changing the behaviour, you're missing the core of the root. And the root doesn't have to be just healed as in, where has this come from? It has to be healed in, what part am I not wanting to feel? I don't want to feel less than, so I'm going to try and be better. I'm going to do better. But you have to sit with the feelings of I feel less than. I don't feel good enough sometimes. I don't feel good enough sometimes. And I have to sit with that feeling. Now, once upon a time, I would be like, no, I'm going to create more content. I'm going to get, you know, I'm going to work more clients. And I burnt myself out because all I needed to do was sit with the feeling that I don't feel worthy, but I am worthy. And my worthiness is not based on how many clients I work with, how grandiose I am, how big my business is. And by doing that, my business has grown because I'm not chasing, I'm attracting. This might not be something you can completely do on your own, you know, but starting to unpick and look at your childhood and the causes can really help you. The causes of your behaviour, every behaviour has a root cause. And you may want to work with somebody like myself. I am available on Facebook under the Spiritual Hub. I have a TikTok account, the Spiritual Hub, where there's lots of content around healing and growth and how we get through things. But also I work on group work with the Awakening the Call of Your Soul program, and I do one-to-ones. But it doesn't necessarily have to be me that you feel drawn to. Working with a wounded healer or a therapist that you feel drawn to that has trauma-informed awareness, because ultimately, and when we say trauma, this is not a situation that was traumatic. It's how your body and nervous system has responded and suppressed. So I don't like to use the word trauma as such because people say I haven't had traumas. And some of my most traumatized clients would absolutely say to me in the first session, I've never had trauma. But when we started to work through what trauma was and how it affected them, that's when they could start to come into the realization of why. Actually now, because you can't understand where you are if you don't know where you've come from. So do go and follow me on the Spiritual Hub on here. Follow me on TikTok and YouTube. You're on YouTube, Facebook, for more videos. It greatly helps my channel. It helps me bring this to you. And I'm not speaking anything other than other people don't speak. And half the time that's what stops me from doing these videos. Well, what are you really bringing? But we all have our own unique sense of self to bring. We all have our own experiences. And I think that is what makes people be drawn to different people. So I thank you for watching this video. Please do comment underneath, you know, anything you may want to add to it, or comment a behaviour that you may have, and I could potentially help you trace or give you something to reflect on to help you trace where that behaviour has come from. But ultimately, spending time working and connecting to yourself and somebody else will ultimately gain greater results for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.